Hey, what's up guys? Jake with Legacy 4x4 here again, and today we're back working on my 1990 Ford Bronco, doing the next step of my build out for the camper section in the bed of this Bronco. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so in the last two videos you guys saw me build out my two drawers, and on the one before that you saw me build up my vertical uprights that hold those drawers into place. Now today we're going to be building the mattress frame. So my idea here is I'm going to use 1x1 steel tubing, and I'm going to build basically a giant square, or well, more of a rectangle. I'm going to build a big rectangle, and then on top of that rectangle I will then screw in a thin piece of plywood to create a smooth, even surface for a mattress to sit on. For a mattress, I'm going to be using like a 4-inch piece of foam cut down to size to fit in the back of this truck. Now, that's not a lot, but I don't want to have a really big mattress in the back of this truck, and I think the little 4-inch foam is going to work perfectly well to give you a little bit of comfort in the back of this 1994 Bronco. Alright, now for the frame. So I'm choosing to do 1x1 1/8 inch thick steel. This is about the same weight as the wood would be, maybe honestly a little bit lighter than the wood would be, but the biggest thing it provides me is a lot of structure and a relatively thin platform. So using 1x1 steel is objectively very thin compared to say using like a 2x4 or something bigger on the back here. I wouldn't really trust a 1x anything of wood to hold up the weight of my body on the back of this truck, supported on just those 6 little uprights. But by doing steel, I get the flexibility of having it span across all my vertical uprights, in addition to being able to tie into the walls of the Bronco, and additionally maybe do some more vertical downs if I need to for extra support. On top of that, I'll put down that plywood to give that nice level surface, and this should be a very comfortable bed. Now, I got 2 sticks of 1x1 today at my steel supplier, so we're going to take that 1x1 out, and we're going to cut down the size, and I'm going to start by making the most basic, the outer frame rails for this box. After that, we'll go through and do some ladder work supports through the middle of it, and then we will figure out how we're going to install it into the truck, how we're going to tie this all in. So, with all that said, let's go ahead and cut down this steel, and let's start making a simple box. So you guys can see here in front of me, we have the basic frame done. This is just a super simple square rectangle, effectively. So it's a total of 63 inches wide and 55 inches deep. That gives it just enough clearance to get just to the edge of the truck and right in front of my speaker covers for the speakers in the back of the truck. I'll do a little bit of a larger piece of plywood to go over top of the speakers just a little bit, but overall this is the size of the bed frame. So it is a little small. You know, like I would fit diagonally on this, but it'll work. It's going to do exactly what it needs to do. So anyways, with this done, we're going to put it into the truck and figure out how the mounting system is going to work. This part was really simple. I've only tack welded it. I'll come through and do all the final welding later on after I smooth out some joints and do all the final welding in one big pass. But we've got all just one side of it tack welded. So let's, I'm going to put this into the truck. I'm going to figure out where the supports are going to go, and then we'll pull it back out again and do all the final welding. Yeah, back into the truck. Okay, so after making the basic frame, you guys can see it laying in the back here. It clears the top of the drawers perfectly fine. I got to decide what I'll do. Maybe I'll do a little facade here or something to cover up some of this gap, but it needs to be a little taller than I initially planned the vertical uprights for, in order to clear like the side panels where the outlets are and some other stuff in the back of the truck. So I had to go up a little bit higher than I had originally planned. I'm now making, I need to make some way to mount this to these uprights though. So when I made the uprights, I drilled a 1/4 inch hole in them. I'm going to tap that hole to be a 5/16 by 18 threaded bolt. It's a 1/4 inch thick piece of steel, so it should be able to accept a tap pretty easily. And then I'm going to take some small chunks of that 1x1. We're going to do like a little offshoot, drill a hole through it, and then that's how it's going to bolt into the truck. After that, then we'll come through and I'll tack weld it inside the truck here, or I'll do a pretty heavy tack on it so it doesn't distort too much. Tack weld it inside the truck here, and then bring it back into the table. We'll do some additional gussets and supports on those pieces, and we'll go through and fully weld everything. So this is what it's kind of shaping up like. I do have some levels back here. It is perfectly level, exactly the way I want it to be. Now I'm having issues tying into the two back corners, so I got to figure out a way for those, but we're going to play with this for a minute. Let me take you guys inside. We're going to drill out these holes on these, and we're going to get a couple of them bolted into place so I can start tack welding.
Storybox Audio.
Alright, so we have the platform into the garage now. I'm going to go through and do all of the final welding on it. I'm going to fully weld everything. I'm going to add in a little bit of gussets, a little just filler material where I need to for those leg supports. And then we're going to come back through afterwards and grind down just the top and the outside of the platform. So I only need to grind down the top and the outside of the platform because that's where the piece of plywood is going to sit down. Sure, if this was like a fine piece of metalworking, I would grind down all the edges and make it all look perfectly smooth. But I only need to grind down the top and the sides so that it continues to fit into the Bronco how it's supposed to, and then so that the piece of plywood I'm going to put down on top of it has a nice level surface that's not distorted by any of the weld bubbles. Anyways, let's get to all this final welding and grinding.
Storybox Audio. Storybox Audio.
Alright, as you guys can see from the shiny metal in front of me here, we've got all of the grinding done. Now, the last thing I want to do before I install this is I want to go through on the sides, and I'm going to drill probably 2 holes into each of the long sections of it through the side of this so I can do a wood screw through it and tie it into the wooden sides of the Bronco. So in addition to having the upright supports that are tied into our vertical frames for the drawers, we're also going to have some horizontal supports that are tied into the wood of the Bronco. This should make it extra secure, make sure it doesn't ever slide around or come loose or anything like that, and help kind of like, you know, cross level everything and get it a really tight fit on the Bronco. So I'm going to go through and drill these holes now, and then we'll do a coat of paint on it and install it back into the Bronco. Alright, so as you guys can see, we got the platform fully installed. I'm really happy with how this turned out. It's simple, it's to the point, and it's going to do exactly what I needed to do back here. Now, I know it's missing the plywood. I don't have any on me right now, and I don't feel like going to Lowe's this late in the afternoon, so we're going to just call this here, and I'll get plywood and do this off camera at a later date. But anyways, let me get you guys off of the tripod here, and I'll show you guys what this looks like in the truck. So this is probably the best side to start on. Unfortunately, I did scratch up the side wall here of the truck. Fortunately though, the mattress is going to cover that. Actually, honestly, the plywood will cover that. So small scratch, but it is what it is. We've got the platform in here, and you can see the drawers down below it, and you can see our little angled bracket mounts that we did to tie into the vertical uprights. Now, these work pretty well. They help provide some cross structure to both the uprights, the drawers, and also to the platform bed frame, tying it into the floor of the truck. It barely clears these. In hindsight, I should have moved those down a little bit farther so that this wasn't resting right on the top of it there where you can see it, but it really does hug the edge of this wood really closely, which is quite nice. Now moving over to this side, you can see the same kind of thing. We've got it going the whole way down and back. Now it is a really stable platform. It is basically bolted into the body of the truck, so it's not going to go anywhere. Once I get a sheet of plywood on top of that, that's just going to add more structure to this and make it even more stable. the plywood will probably go all the way back to our inverter solar section up there. But I'm really happy with it. It's a really simple, but it is going to do what I need it to do. So as you guys can see, the drawers are fully functioning. They slide out underneath of that bar, and I'm really happy with how this looks. This is going to provide the perfect platform for us to rest on. Now, the drawers work perfectly, and if you watched my last video, you remember I said that there was a little bit of flimsiness in these drawers. Well, fortunately, this upper crossbar being tied into all those vertical supports and then tied into the body of the truck on the outside works really well to get rid of a lot of that flimsiness. There's still a little bit of bounce in this one. This one weighs the most, but I think I'll do some kind of like little extendable legs or something for this on the underside. I'll come up with that in the future. As you can see, when the drawers are fully out, they completely clear the mattress, which is exactly the way I wanted this to work. They slide back into place and lock in, and now we have a place to sleep when we go off-road. I'm really excited about this. Now, when it comes to the next step of this project, I'm going to do some stuff off camera. I don't have a video plan for putting on the plywood or for installing the mattress. I got to go through and do some like little tiny wiring. I got to like wire up my pod lights that are on my rear bumper and some other small stuff, and that's all going to be off camera. Do some finishing touches to that. Once I get it all wired up and some other finishing stuff done, I'll probably do a short little walk around video where I'll just show the whole capabilities of this truck and how I designed it, and then we'll go out and go test it off-road. So I'm pretty excited for that. I don't know when that next video will be. It'll be a little bit until I can get back to this truck, but overall I'm really happy with how this looks, and I'm really happy with this truck's progress so far. But I'm going to transition, and I'm going to start working on the Commando again. I'm having a shifting issue with the transmission, so I'm going to transition over to the Commando and do a little bit of work on that and see if I can get the transmission to shift a little bit more smoothly. But I hope you guys like this. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe and follow along for more. I will catch you guys on the next video.